Hey, welcome back to Spring CS170. I just wanted to cover a couple of things. One is the what if analysis for Excel, but also just a couple of pointers or reminders for the exam. So we have exam 2 coming up on Wednesday. You should have seen the announcement from Professor Trees talking about some of the logistics, the proctoring for the exam and whatnot. So if there's any questions, just let us know. There was also the practice questions along with the answers that went with that. As far as my office hours, I'll be doing the office hours shortly, but I'm a little bit jammed up on that, so I will have to cut the office hours a little bit short today, and then I will put on the WebEx for later on tonight, like maybe around 9:30 or so. But you can just drop me an email, let me know, and we can block out a time to do something. So do let me know. We can cover some stuff for the exam if you still have questions, okay? And I'll send an announcement to that effect also. The other thing is, in case you haven't been aware, we've had a lot of people that have been caught with academic integrity issues, which is something that does go through a formal process of review. It does go onto your academic record. So there's some pretty serious consequences. So do take care. Try not to copy from your classmates or copy from stuff online. Try to stick to material that's being taught in class. You may notice a couple of times I've mentioned some things that are more advanced, but they're really out of scope for this class. If all of a sudden you start using some of those things for your exam, you're not going to really impress people. In fact, you're going to get a red flag, right? People are going to say very quickly that this is not something that's been taught in class, and it will raise some suspicion. So try not to do stuff like that. Uh, Try not to copy anything from online, really. Do your best. You do have the second chance policy. So, if you don't do as well as you would like for this exam, you have a second chance to do better on the final exam. Uh, it's not really worth trying to, breach the academic integrity to try to get a better grade on this. Okay, so that's just a quick note there. It is pretty serious. It is being scanned. All of your stuff is obviously submitted electronically. So it's not that hard to find things that are suspicious. So please try not to do that. Anyway, so let's get to your what if analysis. So there's two types of what if analysis. There's something called goal seeker and scenario manager. So goal seeker, I look at it as essentially like algebra, right? Solving for X, right? So in this case, you're talking about all of the grades that calculate your final grade, where the final exam is your X that you're going to be solving for. And I set up something here. So you see all of this here, and I left the final exam to be blank. And you can see the final grade is your average, right? B2 to B6. So what happens if I want to do the what if analysis, which is here under data, right? And then you go to what if analysis, and we're going to do goal seek, right? And so I want to make B7. Let's say I want to end up with a final grade of 70. So then what do I have to do to my final grade so I can get a 70 as my final grade? So I click OK, and it starts to churn a bit, and finally it solves. And it gets 90. So therefore, you have to get a 90 to end up with a final grade of 70. Okay, so that's what the goal seek function does when you do the scenario analysis on Excel. Okay. Like I said, the simplest way for me to explain is just say, like, in algebraic terms, solve for X. Okay, now we have the what if analysis, which is a scenario manager. This will be like you set in, like for all the variables, you can play around with it and change it, right? So we have a very simple thing here for your commute cost. 205 miles, just, it's a simplistic equation. That's not a real thing, hopefully, right? You have 205 miles times the cost of gas plus the cost of parking equals to $391, right? So B9 times B10 plus B11, okay? Now let's set up some scenarios. And we're gonna add a scenario here. And let's call this gas 1. And what are we gonna change? We're gonna change the cost of gas. So that will be B10, right? So that's B and 10. We're gonna change that. And let's see what happens if we set the price of gas to be $2. Okay, so I set up scenario 1, right? And I only pick one variable, which is the cost of gas. I can actually do multiple variables and play around with the cost of gas and the cost of parking at the same time. But let me just play around with gas price for now. Now I'm going to add another scenario. I'm going to call it gas 2. And I'm still going to be changing that B10. And now I'm going to say $2.25. So now I have two scenarios, right? Gas 1, gas 2. One is at $2, one is at $2.25. So let's see what that looks like. So we can do a scenario summary. And let me do a view here so you can see better. And let me see, 175 maybe, 175. And there you go, right? So by changing it from $1.86 to $2 and to $2.25, you can see like the top, that's the scenario, gas 1, gas 2. You can see it changes the price to be that and that. Okay, so that's what the scenario manager does. And you can see it created a new sheet here. I'm gonna just remove this and clear it out, and we're back to here, right? So, excuse me. And so this is a scenario manager screen. And this is kind of what it looks like if you were to just keep on adding different scenarios. Okay. All right. So hopefully this gives you a good picture of the what if analysis, goal seeker, and scenario manager. Okay. Thank you for your time. And if I don't see you, good luck for the exam. If you do have questions on the exam, make sure you drop me a line.